All right, solve the following inequalities, graph and write an interval notation for your solutions is what I meant there. All right, so with minus, let's take part A. Absolute value of minus 4x minus 9 plus 4 is greater than 15. So the first step, whenever you're working with any, well, in general, any inequality, but with an absolute value, very important that you isolate the absolute value first. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 4 from both sides here. Subtract 4. So that goes away. Then 15 minus 4 is 11. And on the left-hand side, we have our isolated absolute value. Okay, so when you have an inequality where you have the absolute value on one side and then you have a greater than a positive number, here's what we're going to do. In fact, let me write this out. When you have stuff, an absolute value greater than a positive number, you're going to make two inequalities out of this. Stuff greater than positive number, and then another one which is stuff less than the negative of whatever that positive number is. And there's a big or here in the middle. Yeah, it's an or because either one of these equations would satisfy the original one, or sorry, inequalities, any of these inequalities, and say. Okay, so in our case where we have 4x minus 9, inside that absolute value is greater than 11, we're going to have minus 4x minus 9 greater than 11, or minus 4x minus 9 is less than negative 11. Okay. And as you can see, yeah, I took off the absolute value. Bars are no longer on there. And what we're going to do is we're going to solve each of these inequalities. So I'm going to add 9 to both sides, starting with the one on the left here. So you get minus 4x is greater than 20. And I'm going to divide by negative 4 on both sides. So x is less than minus 5. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for the other inequality. I'm going to add 9. Actually, let me do the work up here, more consistent. So add 9 here, add 9 there. You get minus 4x is less than minus 2. And I'm going to divide by negative 4 on both sides. And x is greater than a half. All right, and that's really important. Let me go back to a step where I divided it by negative 4. Whenever you divide by a negative, you switch the inequality sign, okay? Always. So if you have a greater than inequality and you divide by a negative, then it turns into a less than, and vice versa. If you have a less than, you divide it by a negative, it turns into a greater than. And these would be your two answers: x is less than negative 5 or x is greater than 1/2. And in terms of writing the solution out as a graph, start with that. Let's say zeros here, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6. Here's 1 over here, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to place 1/2 and minus 5. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to shade. X is less than minus 5. It means all those numbers that are less than minus 5, so minus 6, minus 7, etc. It goes on forever. It goes on to negative infinity. And that's how we would draw that out. And likewise, x is greater than 1/2 would have this. All the numbers greater than 1/2, so 1, 2, 3, 4, on and on. And as you can see, I put these like parentheses here on the ends. So these right here. You can sometimes put brackets on these expressions. You would put a bracket if you had a less than or equal to or a greater than or equal to. That just means that you're including the solution, the endpoint there as part of the solution of the problem, okay? Yeah, because the little bar means greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. So that's why we put a bracket around that if that were the case. All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and finish this problem off by writing out the solution as an interval notation. So the way you do that is by interpreting the shading. So all the shading that was done over here, I'm going to write as all the negative numbers all the way up to -5. And when we're writing these interval notations, we're writing them from left to right and not inclusive. And then there's this gap here, and that's where this U comes in, okay, which we call a union. And I'm going to start off at 1/2. Again, I put a parenthesis because I'm not including it, all the way to infinity and a parenthesis. Infinity is not a number, it's more like it's a concept. We don't actually put a bracket around it, okay? And that would be your solution for that in interval notation. So yeah, if you have any more questions on brackets or intervals, recommend maybe coming and seeing a tutor here at the tutoring center. Okay, thanks for your time.